Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and coming up here on the docket, the Birds getting some more great news. What is that great news? The fact that they might arguably have the best wide receiver trio in the National Football League. So we're going to pose that question, and we're going to do a deep dive into that question. We're going to take a gander at what A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Jahan Dotson bring to the table, to this receiving core for Philadelphia, and how this and key offensive changes will help quarterback Jalen Hurts get back on track here in 2024. Naturally, we pop up today's poll question. I want to hear from you down in the comment section. Do the Eagles, in fact, have the best wide receiver trio in the league? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Now, the Eagles are certainly loaded at this position, but it starts and ends with A.J. Brown. What a trade acquisition during the draft a couple of drafts ago, and he has ended up changing the complexion of this organization, the path of this Eagles offense. He's helped out Jalen Hurts, and his production as an Eagle has been incredible since he came to Philadelphia. He really is this generation's Julio Jones with the body type, the game, and the numbers that he's been able to put up with the Eagles, but also with the Tennessee Titans. And keep in mind, he had bad quarterback play in Tennessee. That hasn't been the case with the Eagles. Year one really helps that Eagles offense take off with Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, calling the plays. He was also a big reason why Jalen Hurts was runner-up in NFL MVP voting behind Patrick Mahomes. And if Hurts didn't injure his shoulder late in the year against Chicago, I actually think Hurts would have been named NFL MVP. But him missing some time there hurt his chances. But A.J. Brown's numbers did not suffer. 145 targets, 88 catches, nearly 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, 17 yards per catch year one for A.J. Brown in Philadelphia. He really did get going with an absolute boom. And then last year, I know it was a frustrating year for him, but he still put up insane production, and in back-to-back years, he was a second-team All-Pro at a very deep position across the NFL. The targets went up to $158, receptions went up past the century mark at 106, the yards did go down, touchdowns did go down, and then the yards per catch did decrease, but we know some of the issues that happened with that Eagles offense during the 2023 campaign, and when you look at those numbers, take a screenshot, because it's worth remembering and it's worth noticing that A.J. Brown literally has had the two best years for a wide receiver consecutively in the history of this Eagles organization. And with him signing that contract extension this offseason, getting $32 million average annual value, the numbers that he's put up the previous 2 years, and what he can continue to do, he's going to be in the conversation for being the best Eagles wide receiver of all time. Now, this is an organization that has had a lot of great wide receivers throughout this organization's history. Mike Quick is the best. Harold Carmichael right behind him. Tommy McDonald right back in the day. And then you had some OGs when teams weren't really passing the football that much, yet they still put up some really good numbers. And Pete Retzlaff, and then Pete Pihos. You had Deshaun Jackson, an electrifying vertical playmaker. I think A.J. Brown is already the seventh best wide receiver in the history of this team, despite only playing 2 years. And he's ahead of Terrell Owens because Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb really only paired up for 1 year. That 1 year was magical, made it to the Super Bowl. T.O. played in that Super Bowl 39 against the Patriots with screws in his ankle. And if the Eagles won, he would have won Super Bowl MVP. But he just didn't have the longevity, and I hope that A.J. Brown can have that longevity. What makes him special in my eyes, it's the speed, size, and strength combo. It really is a unique blend, and that's why I kind of throw out that Julio Jones comp. But he can also go long. He can muscle up defenders and break tackles. That little spin around off that in route is just such a great play, allowing him to pick up yards after the catch. He's really elusive in doing that. He has a complete route tree. You can tell that he cares about his craft with the way that he goes about his route running and his footwork. And he's a reliable pass catcher. He does not drop a lot of footballs. Now, for as good as A.J. Brown is, don't sleep on Devonta Smith. For a lot of other teams across the NFL, Smitty, Skinny Batman, he would be a number one wideout. And it was great to see the Eagles finally hit on a wide receiver in the NFL draft. And they did it in a big way with Smith, who each year that he's been in the NFL, I think he's shown some sizable improvements. Year one, with the young quarterback in Jalen Hurts, he had really good production. 64 catches, 916 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Year two, the production that him and A.J. Brown had was sensational. 95 grabs, almost 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And then last year, a frustrating year for the Eagles offensively, but they still put up some really, really good numbers. And it's amazing the deal that Howie Roseman was able to sign Devonta Smith to. And I loved what he said after signing that deal. You can't worry about other people's pockets. That's what he had to say. With the wide receiver market exploding, he could have held out. He could have demanded more. He could have played another year. And then if he had a good campaign here in 2024, he could have asked for 28 to 30. He wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. That's awesome. So to get him at $25 million per season, guaranteed money at $51 million, a steal for the Eagles, and they can keep A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith on the field together as a great wide receiver duo for the foreseeable future. What makes Smith special? Different player than A.J. Brown. He's smaller, more slender. He's quicker. Great footwork, fast footwork, awesome route running. I think he's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Skinny, slender, but a slippery athlete who I think is underrated at breaking tackles from time to time, but making people miss in the open field. You run some crossers for him, it can be night-night for the defense. He also plays bigger than his size along the sideline and just overall in general. When he's going down the field, he can really go up, climb the ladder, and come down with those 50-50 balls. He won the Heisman Trophy his last year at Alabama, and that college production has carried over into his pro production. He's been a great player at both levels, and I think the best is yet to come for a player like A.J. Brown, who really is devoted to his craft and becoming a great player in this league. This is a tough poll question, but we like to ask tough questions here on this show because we like to get the brain churning a little bit. Who has more receiving yards this year? Past 2 years, it's been A.J. Brown. Does Devonta Smith beat him out? DS for Smith, AJ for A.J. Brown. Let me know. And then the third portion of this wide receiver duo is Jahan Dotson, a player who I'm higher on as compared to others. And just a reminder, with this trade that was done between Philadelphia and Washington, really since I've been alive, certainly since the turn of the century, which organization scouting department would you trust more? Which team would you trust more to scout players? It's Philadelphia over Washington, and it's not even close. So I'll take the Eagles taking a chance on Dotson over Washington's evaluation of letting him go. Comes to the Eagles with pedigree. 16th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. And in 2 years with bad quarterback play, 84 catches, more than 1,000 yards, and 11 touchdowns. That is impressive touchdown production. I think people are also going to like his positional versatility. He can play inside. He can play outside. So now with Jahan Dotson and with Devonta Smith, both of those players, depending on the matchup, can play X wide out. They can play out of the slot. I also really like the financials of this trade for the Eagles. Dotson has at least 2 more years left on his deal. Philadelphia can exercise that 5th-year option if they want to gain another year of team control. And how about the base salary? $1.57 million this year, $2.76 million in 2025. And I know a lot of people didn't like how Howie gave up a 3rd-round pick for Dotson. They did give up a 3rd, but they still have a 3rd from Miami in the 2025 NFL Draft. And it's not like you're asking Dotson to be wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. You are asking Jahan Dotson to be wide receiver 3 and weapon number 5 on this Eagles offense. Naturally, the defense is going to be honed in on A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts. And it's going to lead to a lot of open opportunities for Jahan Dotson, I think, to live up to the expectations of being that 1st-round pick. Coming out of Penn State, my previous job, I scouted him when he was with the Nittany Lions. I loved his pass-catching ability, the natural hands. He did lead the Commanders in drop rate last year, so that's a little bit of a concern. But again, I'm going to put my trust in the Eagles scouting department and their coaching staff over Washington's. Because throughout my entire lifetime, Washington has been an abysmal organization. I know they have a new owner. I know they have a new general manager and a new coaching staff. But still, it's the Eagles over the Commanders any day. And this Eagles offense, I think, becomes more difficult to defend with Jahan Dotson and a legitimate wide receiver 3 as compared to not having a good wide receiver 3. Dotson is so much better than Parris Campbell. He's leaps and bounds better than a player like John Ross. Anaya Smith is hurt. Johnny Wilson is a rookie. Britton Covey, I like him. More of a possession wide receiver. But when you have a legitimate wide receiver 3 who's very affordable, you still hold on to that third-round pick, and you pair him with the weapons on this team, endless options for Philadelphia. And that weaponry, combined with Kellen Moore's scheme, play calling, play design, and the talent of Jalen Hurts, we've seen him play at an elite level. That's why I think that Hurts is going to be able to have a monster year. The Eagles were dead last in pre-snap motion last year. It's a crime for that to be the case in today's modern NFL. But Kellen Moore is going to run a lot of pre-snap motion, and that was on display during the preseason. That will lead to easier looks, easier passes, easier completions, and weapons running open frequently for the Eagles offense this year. And last year, everything seemed so hard. Everything was predictable. This offense was vanilla. This year, I think we're going to see a lot of creativity, and this offensive system is just going to be a smarter offensive system as compared to last year when the Eagles really missed Shane Steichen. Be sure to give me a follow on social media. In addition to long-form content here on Eagles Now on YouTube, I put out a lot of short-form Eagles content on my social media pages. And don't be a stranger. Always say what's up.